Dr. Mary Cloud Bethune started Cookman College in Florida. It later became Bethune-Cookman. Actually, she started Bethune. And the $1.50 faith is where the heart of this story is. She was in Florida, the central part of Florida, and she was working with a group of illiterate railroad workers, those guys that hammer that steel and with that rhythm, the Gandhi dance singers. And she wanted to build a school, start a school. And she had very little funds and no resources of much. So she decided with the $1.50 that she had, she would initiate the effort to begin that school. And she rode around on a bicycle throughout that area, telling different persons what her vision was. They became supportive of the idea, and that's how Bethune-Cookman College come into existence and is still one of the most viable institutions in this nation now.
And the images behind her?
The images behind her, apart from the many sunflowers that are back there, are those images that she was concerned with. And these represent the families and the various persons who were supportive of her and those who were some of the first students of that great institution.
And whose collection is this in? Who owns this piece?
In this piece? Who else do you see there?
Well, no, who owns this piece of art? Is this part of the part of your personal collection?
Yes.
I see.
Yes, this is part of my personal collection. I've had many offers to sell it, but I will never sell it because I operate on $1.50 faith also.
What determines the size of your painting? This is obviously one of the smallest.
There, sometimes the subject matter determines that size. Sometimes, if it's a commission, the person that requests the commission decides it. But the standby is what canvas is ready to be painted on.
Practicality always wins, doesn't it?
How do I determine how I'm going to do a painting? There's an awful lot wrapped up in that question. What drives the variation in how I make the expression has to do with the extensive training that I undertook living 3 years in Europe, traveling from Denmark down into Italy. And I was exposed to some of the greatest artwork in the world, endless varieties, the countless variations of how painting, oil painting, and various other mediums were used, and the order in which they came in to usage, and how one supported the other. And then, when I came along, there were countless numbers of schools of paintings. History had a tremendous amount of influence upon all of what I'm talking about. And it isn't what we would think of as artistic history, of things that would deal solely with art. It has to do with the whole of culture, particularly economics and state affairs. All of these things impact the mind of the artist in some way, and we're constantly reflecting on these areas. So now, with all of this baggage in my mind, when an idea comes, I listen to the idea. All of my paintings began in the abstract, not as something that is as recognizably as you're seeing here now. So with this particular piece, I felt, because of what this lady looked like and the feeling that I remember from a child of hearing about her, Dr. Mary Cloud Bethune. What a name. That had to be a powerful image, yet a loving, caring lady, a mother who loved humanity. So now, how do I decide to do it? With the repertoire that I have available to me, I simply listen and go to work. And what came on the canvas that you see there, once the painting took off in that direction, I simply followed it.